Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kim Schmidt. I'm the executive editor of Farm Equipment Magazine. Welcome to our latest webinar in conjunction with the Western Equipment Dealers Association. Today's presenter is Larry Cole, the founder of TMAX and a WIDA Dealer Institute trainer. In today's webinar, he's going to discuss the 4 critical requirements for change to occur. Before we hand things over to Larry, just a couple of housekeeping items to go through. On your screen, there's a control panel with a Q&A icon. You can submit questions here at any time during the presentation, and time permitting, we'll try to answer as many of those questions as possible once Larry finishes. And then just a reminder, as usual, the webinar is being recorded and will be shared with everyone who registered in case you want to go back and watch it later or want to share it with anyone else at the dealership as well. All right, with that, we are ready to get things started. Thanks again for joining us, and Larry, you can take it away.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for being with us this afternoon. I'm Larry Cole, and I want to welcome you to Conway, Arkansas. My first book I ever wrote was called Frustration is Your Best Friend, and we had a little bit of that operating, but we've got everything working perfectly now. All right, let me tell you what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk about, can old dogs learn new tricks? And I'm a believer that they can. And I'm going to show you what we must do to make that happen. And first, let me tell you, I don't know what all Kim told you about me, but my background is I taught psychology after getting a degree in psychology from the University of Oklahoma. I had a stint as a mental health center. I've been consulting for over 30 years, and 20 years of that, I've been working in the ag industry in some shape, way, or form. And I do a lot of writing. I've done a lot of writing over the years, and I enjoy speaking. So that's kind of a nutshell of who I am. Here's what's important for us. This is the dealership, the Dealer Institute's vision. We want to be the trusted advisor and first choice for business strategy, leadership, and employee development in the equipment industry. Now, when I am working with inside of organizations or public courses for WIDA and Dealer Institute, I always have a pre-course assignment of asking the participants to create a vision of the statement of the kind of person or the kind of leader that they want to be, because the vision gives us a direction, all right? We all have to have a direction. I think that we are hardwired to go in the direction, and you'll see that in just a little bit in our discussion today. Here's our mission. This is our reason that we are working to achieve that vision, and it is to help customers achieve operational excellence and long-term success. Well, I think that we should all have a mission statement as well. Why did God put us down here on the face of the earth? My mission for my company and for years has been, I am trying to maximize my potential and helping leaders maximize their potential by accepting the challenge to change. We have to change, which we're going to be talking about, obviously, today. Here's our value proposition for the Dealer Institute. We develop people to grow our business. And I've got a flip chart here. Now, I think everybody will be able to see this, or they have in the past anyway. Here's what a lot of people fail to realize. Everybody wants to see their business look like that. Straight line success. But we know it's not a straight line success. Success looks more like this, and sometimes it looks like we go backwards to go forwards. But here's what we have to understand. That organization is just not going to go anywhere. It's going to flatline unless people change. We've got to remember that people change first, and we bring the organization with us, which is why it's so important for old dogs to learn new tricks, because what got you here is not going to get you there. We're going to have to do some things differently, all right? And that means all of us have to do some things differently, and I'm going to show you more about that in just a moment. Obviously, the constant change, everybody talks about that. The constant change that all of us are experiencing, one constant that all of us are experiencing is change. And I saw this several years ago. I'm kind of like it. You cannot step into the same river twice, because the water is flowing, because it's just changing. That stream is constantly changing. And I know what some of you are thinking, with because I've got a psychological background. How many, you've all heard this story too. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, the obvious answer is one, if the light bulb wants to change. And that is true for you and me, and it's particularly true for old dogs who are kind of stuck in their ways. One of the things even that concerns me, because I've been doing this for a long time, is that I stay fresh and stay learning and still and growing. And all of us older dogs have to do that if we're going to stay relevant. All right, and I'm definitely categorized as an older dog. So I don't know what I'm about to tell you is true or not, but I've been told it is true. So I don't know. I am not the kind of scientist that knows all of what I'm about to show you. But I've been told that a dinosaur has gone into extinction because they didn't change to the adapting to the ever-changing environment. All right, whereas the cockroach has, and it's been around for a jillion years. All right, that's the point. What is the secret that the cockroach has that the dinosaurs doesn't have, and what secrets can the cockroach teach you and me about the process of change, particularly those of us who are older and maybe kind of stuck in our ways? Here's what's critically important for all of us, regardless of our age. There's a distinct relationship between the railroad track and you and me. Now, when I'm in front of a group, I'll ask people what that is, and most of the time they give me some wild guesses, but the fact of it is the railroad company maintains both of those rails because it's necessary to get the train where it needs to go. Well, you and I have technical skills. You have technical skills, all right? You also have interpersonal skills. It's your people skills. And this is true for all of us. Our people skills are more important for us to continue to move forward than our technical skills. I can show you something. I've got two markers here, different colors. And let's assume for discussion purposes that I'm wearing blue, so I'm going to like blue today. That the blue has the better interpersonal skills than the green. And if they're equally technically competent, it's obvious that the person with the interpersonal skills is going to get the promotion or whatever. Well, it can get worse than that. This guy is much better at whatever they're doing than this person is doing, all right? But this person has the better set of interpersonal skills. This person's going to win every time, right? People skills will beat out technical competencies, right? People want to like you. Hey, I grew up on a farm, all right? And I've been on a lot of horses in my time. And I've come, as an adult, came to the realization that a lot of people don't enjoy being around horses manure because it stinks. And then I'll ask them which part is horses anatomy originate from, and they always tell me the horse's butt when it's really the mouth. But I've never put my nose in a horse's butt to smell it, but I just assumed it smells like the manure, and therefore adults are not going to enjoy being around the horse's butt. Then I really asked some very important questions. How many of us have at least one horse's butt in our dealership? And I'll ask people to raise their hand, and they'll start laughing because everybody's got one. Then we get more serious. How many of us have been that horse's butt at least one time? Right? We all have been. And if we have some old dogs that are not willing to learn new tricks, then they are being a horse's butt. All right? I'm going to show you how to change that, or you're going to have to get rid of them. Here's the hard part. Technical skills are much easier to teach. They are definitely easier to teach, and therefore they're easier to change because they're empirical. They're objective. You can see it. And oftentimes there's a systems to those technical skills. You do A, then you do B, then you do C, then you do D. All right? Much easier to change and work with than people skills. Because one, some people will tell me this. They've told me this. I've heard it many, many times. Larry, you can't teach interpersonal skills, and that's BS. All right? Look, August 30, 1945, I started coming out of mom. And I left a warm environment and I came into a cold one. And eventually the doctor picked me up and did what? Spanked my little butt under the pretense to get me to breathe. And that's not the way why they do it. They do it to tell us that the honeymoon is over. So if some of us, I think, are stuck at the birthing process with their interpersonal skills because we just act like that a lot. All right. But we learn our interpersonal skills. We're not born with them. We're not hardwired with them. We learn them from our environment. But that's the first thing we're going to have to change, and you'll see that's going to pop up in a moment again. Also, it's much more subjective. If I ask people, what is one of the things that you want your people to do, they'll tell me friendly. Okay, well, what is friendly? Friendly is an abstraction. In order for us to teach people how to be friendly, we got to define it very similar to how the technical skills are defined. We have eye contact, then we smile, then we offer a friendly greeting, and we can learn to be more friendly. Guys, I have been basically an introvert all my life, and I had to practice. While I was going through Walmart, or we're going through a grocery store, to practice saying good morning, how you doing? Hi, how are you? And I like it when they've got a name because then I can use their name. Listen, I grew up so introverted that when I was going to college, I wouldn't even talk to people. I would always sit in the back seat. All right, but let's go on. It also lacks systems. It's harder. Now I'm going to show you a system at the end that we've used to help people to change their behavior. It is hard work. It's hard work for both of us, you and I, if we're working on changing some of our skill sets. It's hard work. And it's also hard work if we're helping other people to do the same. And leaders and managers and supervisors, it's our responsibility to help people to learn the skill sets that are going to help them to be successful here in the dealership. It's our responsibility to do that. We would like for them to come in. Matter of fact, there are some movement afoot that hires people based on interpersonal skills, but we're not here to talk about all that today. It would be nice. Watch this. Here's our employee groups. Unfortunately, we've got employees that are dead. And I know what you're thinking, okay? And those of us my age, with my color of hair, some of us think that we're dead. We're not going to move forward. Coming on to that again in just a moment. But some of us have died. We've died in place. We might have to stick a mirror in front of them to see if they're breathing. But let's go to the right a little more. Then the next category is mediocres. Better than dead, but it's not as good as average. When I'm working with groups of people, I'll ask them, how many of you want to be average? Very few raise their hand because the average is best of the least and least of the best. All right? Very few will do that. They all want to be the best. That's what they tell me. They want to be the best. All right? And we can get better than average, and the best is really moved to the right. All right? But in order for that to happen, all of us are going to have an open mind. This is difficult. I tell people all the time inside of organizations that if we're going to be really good, we do not have the luxury of a closed mind. We've got to have an open mind, be able to objectively evaluate information and facts. It's an absolute requirement as much as we possibly can. The second thing we have to do is we got to want to maximize our potential. Looking over on the right-hand side of that screen, you want to become the best. You're not going to become the best if you're settling for average. It just isn't going to happen. All right? And we want people to reach out and seek the best, to be the best. We also have to be willing to accept feedback. There is no change, you'll see. There is no change in our performance until we get feedback. We've got to have feedback in order to improve. It's getting into springtime here in Arkansas. Trees are beginning to leaf out. And I know some of you are further north and we're a little ahead of you. But soon I'm going to be hitting the golf courses. Haven't had a chance to do that in a few weeks. And I keep track of some of the things. One of the things I keep track of is just the number of putts per green. just to measure it, to see if there's improvement. Because I'm really working on making sure there's two or fewer putts per green. All right, so those things all help us to move to the right. We have to have an open mind. We got to want to maximize our potential, and we also are willing to accept feedback. Yes, us old dogs need to do that too. And I'm going to hold on to your hat. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's coming. So here's our agenda. Okay, the supervisor's attitude, rut in the grave. You can read all of that. I don't need to repeat that for you, but that's our agenda for today. We're going to touch on those 6 things in the next 30, 40 minutes. And we also have some time at the end for any questions that you have. And during this discussion, if you should have a question that you want Kim to relate to me, all you got to do is communicate with her, and she'll interrupt me and ask the question. All right, we're all on a journey. I want to show you Mother Nature's way. Look at that beautiful butterfly. All right, it's doing what it is required of it by its DNA. It's going to become a beautiful butterfly if we'll leave it alone, because I've been told that when we see the butterfly, we have visited butterfly gardens, and they've told us that if you see a butterfly starting to come out of that cocoon, and you go over there and you try to help it and you get it out, that butterfly will never learn to fly, because it's in the struggles that it's pushing fluid in its wings, giving it strength. And when it's sitting there over on the right-hand side, it'll sit there for 10 or 15 minutes to dry, then it flies away. Okay. The interesting thing about a butterfly, it continues to be the best butterfly it possibly can be until the end. All right. Now, here's our way. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, says Henry Ford. And that is so right. If we think we can't, we just put a limit we put a cap on our potential. Let me give you an example. It's not necessarily all old farts, but it illustrates what the discussion that we're having. I'm in a group of supervisors, and the vice president of parts, corporate vice president of parts, gets up and really proud that they've had some parts people who have sold over $1 million this past year in parts. Well, I go to a dealership in Canada, and I find out they've got a couple of parts people who've sold over $3 million in a year. So I'm meeting with the people again in the United States, and I happen to mention what I just told you, and listen to what the vice president of parts said in front of his parts managers. That's impossible. Can't be done. He just automatically put a limit right on the ability to get to $3 million, because if somebody in another part of the organization can do it, or another company can do it, by God, I can do it too. All right, it can be done. We have to be more like the butterfly. We are what we think about. You and I control our thoughts, and that's an important part of what I'm going to be showing you here as we go through. Here's the first one. If I'm working with an old dog, I've got an option. Do I think this person can get better or not? It's called the fixed mindset. If I believe that I'm wasting my time, guys, if I'm thinking it, I'm going to communicate that to them through our nonverbal behaviors. And I'm going to tell you something that's really scarier than that. There is evidence out there. I have read research that if you and I are thinking about an employee, we're looking at talking to the employee, but we're thinking about that employee, you're just an old fuddy-dud, you're stuck in your ways, you're not going anywhere. That information is being communicated to him unconsciously, because there's quantum physics, there's energy going on between you and me all the time. And that is being communicated, that's being picked up, all right? And that's going to influence how he interacts with us, all right? So our fixed mindset, if I believe that somebody can't get any better, then it's dead. If that's not going to happen, you might as well just stop. The person who needs to be worked on at that point in time is the supervisor, because they need to have a growth attitude. They need to understand that everybody has the potential of getting better. Good enough is never good enough. We can always get better. People want to be better if we just help them, and I'll show you that. So here's what has to happen. A supervisor, when we're working with those old dogs, they have to believe this old dog can learn a new trick. Got to believe it. You've got to believe it. You've got to exhibit that. You do that some by expecting it to happen, but it's in your attitude. It's in how you talk. It's in your nonverbal behaviors to show people, I know that you can do this. I've seen you do it. This is we can make it work, and I'll quit stuttering here in just a minute. All right. You do have to know the energy systems that's inherent in the change process. And I really have a bone to pick with this industry. I work in several different industries over the years and still do. Got a bone to pick. I've asked many supervisors to demonstrate, hey, get up here to the flip chart and show me the energies associated with the change process. Haven't had one. They got up and did it. Okay. Sad. Because what do we manage? I mean, we're change agents. We're managing change inside of an organization. It is sad. But in order for me to help somebody to grow, it would be nice if I knew the tools that could help them to grow, right? Right. You wouldn't send me out to work on a combine with the wrong set of tools. So we have to have that set of tools. We also have to implement real-time feedback or an accountability system. We just have to do that. All right. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the end. That book, Carol Mindset, that Mindset by Carol Dweck, I'd highly recommend you to read that book. I've recommended it to a lot of supervisors and managers. Read that book. It's an excellent book. She's done a lot of research. She is well quoted. It's an excellent book. I hope you'll pick it up and read it. Here's another thing we have to really be careful of. What is the difference between a rut and a grave? The fact of it is we make our habits, which didn't make us. The difference between a rut and a grave is about 6 feet. Okay? But a rut can soon become a grave. Now, there's some bad things about this rut. There's some bad things about this grave. Let me just list a couple of them for you. If it's not careful, it's going to produce complacency. All right? Listen, old dogs, you and I are challenged because people expect us to be stuck in our ways. We have to show people we are green and growing, not ripe and rotting, as Ray Kroc is famously quoted as saying, we're either green and growing or we're ripe and rotting. We have got to take control of our own destiny and be green and growing. There is no status quo. All right. We got to understand that, because here's what happens. If we try to maintain status quo, let me get another piece of paper here. If we try to maintain a status quo, what you're maintaining is that. You're not going to do it. You're going to decline. It's just going, you know that. Put a $400,000 piece of equipment out there in the field, and what does it do over time if it's not used? It deteriorates. Okay? There's no status quo. We're either green and growing or we're ripe and rotting. Hey, a rut, a grave can derail our career. It can stop it. All right. Here are some good things though, and this is what keeps us sometimes in that rut and grave. It provides psychological security. It's comfortable, and comfort pulls us. We are designed to stay comfortable. We want to stay, called the law of closure in psychology. We're hungry, we're tired, we're going to eat or we're going to sleep. We want to be comfortable, okay? We want to stay in that comfort zone because it's familiar, but what we fail to realize is that comfort zone is a rut, and it can also become the grave. We've got to constantly be churning. Grew up on a farm. I know, I bet a lot of you have too. So what happens when we milk a cow and we let the milk just set? Cream rises to the top. But if we're not careful and keep stirring it, it will sour. You guys know that. So here comes the important, first really important part of this whole process, right? The need to change. Let me show you the dynamic of that. Let me get a drink real quick. We have to show this old fuddy-duddy that being stuck in his way is not going to get us to where we want to go, all right? So we have to help him to realize, or her, I'm going to say him a lot because oftentimes they're males and we're in a male-dominated industry. Remaining as is no option. We have to help that person make that decision. Remaining as is no option. And that's based on two pieces of information. One, look at the number of minus points. Those are disadvantages. All right, look at the number of them. We got 2, 4, 6 of them there. We have to show that person that we have to help that person to realize that there are more disadvantages than there are advantages to remaining as is. We have to help that person to see it. And we want that insight to come from within, not me saying, hey, let me tell you something. Here are all the disadvantages of you being stuck in your ways. That's not going to get it, because all we're doing is setting up, we're just creating a defensive environment. We ask them, hey, let's start looking at some of the things that's driving us here, keeping us where we are. What are some disadvantages in this situation? And what are some advantages that you're getting out of it? Okay, yes, you may have to play the employment card. You may have to ultimately say, hey, if we stay like we are, okay, you're risking your employment. We may have to say that, but that's the last card, unless the employee brings it up. We don't want to use that as a hammer, because what we want the employee to do is to recognize that and move forward. It wants to be a push to move in another direction. We want them to move. We want them to develop some incentive to improve. All right. Got to have a target. Where are we going to go? It's like this. If you and I are in a movie theater and we start smelling smoke and all the lights go out, there's going to be a great deal of frustration, isn't there? And if we don't see an exit, we're going to start using people as a battering ram and try to get out of there. But if we see an exit sign, at least we have a direction of where we want to go. That's what, of course, we kill each other as we're trying to get through the exit, but at least we know how we can get out of here. Got to have a target. Okay? Then does the employee understand that target? It's just like friendliness. I have worked with many supervisors over the years in this industry about their willingness and friendliness to working with people. Okay, we have to help them. We've got to make sure they understand what's expected. I'm just going to use friendly again. Eye contact when you see a customer. You put a smile on your face, and you have a friendly greeting. Those are the three primary things. And you could even introduce yourself if you want to. With practice, we can do that. Then we have to ask, do they have the necessary skill sets in order, whatever we're asking, but either technical or interpersonal. Let me give you an example of me. All right. Over a year ago, because of COVID, as we all know, a lot of our courses went virtual. And I'm not a technological giant, right? And I'm 76, and some of this technology can be intimidating to me as well. So now they decided that we're going to start doing things with Adobe Connect. All right. Did I want to do things with Adobe Connect? Did I want to teach virtually? Say no. All right. I didn't want to. I still prefer in-person training. However, I knew I needed to learn a set of A, B, C, D things in order for me to be able to manipulate and work with Adobe Connect. So this old dog learned some new tricks about Adobe Connect. fortunately, we always have an administrator whenever we do something like that behind the scenes who is moving things along. So there's a lot that has to happen that I don't have to pay attention to. But we have to answer those questions. Here's something critical important. Does the employee see themselves completing the expected behavior? Does the employee see themselves, whatever it is that you're asking this old dog to do or anybody to do they see themselves in their mind's eye of actually implementing that behavior? Critically important, because let me tell you another story. My wife and I, our last time we were skiing was in Whistler, British Columbia. And we always took lessons. We've only done it not maybe 3 times, maybe 4 at the most. But anyway, we had a French instructor up there. We always took classes before we tried to ski on the slope. And while I was having this discussion with this young man, he asked me, Larry, why do people hit trees when they get out of control on a ski slope? I look at him and I forget his name. I said, why are we talking about that here? I don't want to plant any seeds in my brain. I don't want to run into a tree. Listen to what he said. He said, because they're looking where they don't want to go. Your body tends to follow your eyes. So he said, Larry, if you feel like you're getting out of control on the ski slope, keep your eyes locked onto where you want to get. Okay, I'm about to show you a picture of something that I have never done, and I have no intention of doing it. Look at this stupid jerk. There's no way in God's green earth I'm going to pick a snake up and let it wrap around my arm like that. I just don't see myself doing it. Therefore, I'm not, at this point in my life, I am not even going to attempt it. Now, we've got a little garden out here that I grow tomatoes and stuff in. And my wife, like a year ago, put some netting around some of the things that she had growing. And she didn't want the rabbits to eat it. And probably July or August, I thought, I might as well remove that netting. It's kind of over. So I reached down and I grabbed that netting and I felt something wiggling in my hand. I looked down and God, there was a copperhead in that dadgum net. And fortunately, its head was stuck in the net, but it was trying to get back at me because I had its tail. I dropped that thing. And because my motto is every good snake is a dead snake, and that snake ended up in a burn pile. 30 minutes later, I come in the house. Shelby asked me, "Hey, Larry, why are you so white?" I explained to her what I had done. Fortunately, I didn't pee my pants or do something else even worse than that. But I just don't see myself doing that. Therefore, I'm not going to do it. So you have to ask the employee, do you see yourself doing this? And sometimes they'll tell you yes when they really don't know. But the proof is always in the pudding. You may have to guide it when they're doing it, but I bet they can do it. And you can help them to do it. All right. Here comes another big issue. Creating the want to change. Now, the want to change is going to be more powerful than the push. All right. I'll give you an example of that in just a moment. But here's tomorrow. I just have to have it. This is what we're changing. I just got to do it. I just have to have it. Okay. I had to do this with Adobe Connect. I had to see myself enjoying teaching virtually. That was part of my psychological process that I had to go through. Okay. I had to look at the advantages. I enjoy teaching. I wanted to continue working. And I enjoy working with the Dealer Institute. Those were some of the advantages that I had. Yes. I wanted that to be a strong magnet to pull me toward the direction that I needed to learn, what I needed to know in order to be virtual. I wanted it to pull me. Okay? Because there's always some disadvantages. Did I have to learn some new programs? Did I have to learn some new things to do on the computer? Absolutely, I did. All right? But I did. You know what they tell me they're going to do this summer? They're going to change platforms. Now, am I looking forward to learning another platform? Yes or no? Okay. But you know what I'll do? I will learn it. We want a strong pull. All right, you probably can't see it, but there's patio doors right over there. And just visualize, if you would, that there's a rope on this table back here. you can see that I'm kind of messy. I'm generally working on a lot of things at one time. And there's a 20-foot piece of rope, and I got to get it through that door. I can't pick it up and put it on anything. I can't carry it through the door. So how do I do it? All right. The only way is to pull it. I can't push a rope anywhere, but I can pull it. That's what we're showing here on this screen. All of us have purchased something that exceeded our budget. It literally sucked money right out of our pocket. All right. We've all have done that. Okay. You know that I like golf, and I'm 76. I figured I've never had a set of custom fitted golf clubs. So I went out and had one fitted. Ultimately, I bought it, but I haven't told my wife how much it costs yet. Some things I just keep a secret. Got to keep it a secret. So we want to go forward. We want that strong pull to go forward. Just visualize and think about the things you've done. Now, here's what we want. We want that old dog to see the advantages of this new behavior, because we want that old dog to also come along and learn the new tricks. All right. So here's the deal. We now have two energy sources that are encouraging us to change. And if those were the only two energy sources, change would be easy. But we know there's a little thing called resistance. And resistance oftentimes does not have a positive connotation. So that people want to fight it. All right, I'll tell you something. But while I'm thinking about it, let me ask you a question. I don't know if we've got any salespeople here or not, but if you're trying to sell a farmer a piece of equipment, wouldn't it be nice if he just gave you a piece of paper and said, these are all the reasons that he's not going to, or she's not going to buy that piece of equipment? Because you would sell to those objections, right? So instead of being afraid of resistance, we want people to resist it and tell us why, so that we can help them to overcome those resistances, okay? I did that with Dealer Institute. I said, guys, I don't want to learn that thing. And the first instruction we had, they told us A through Z. And I said, I just want to know the A, B, C, D stuff that I have to have. I don't care all about all of these extra things that it can do. I just want to know what I need to know in order to present our webinars, our in-person, our virtual learning classes are sometimes 6 or 7 hours long. But change takes hard work. It's going to take time. There's also some fear with it. I haven't shown you this, but as you get near the edge of the comfort zone, there is some fear. And that fear, we have to overcome it. I tell people all the time, you and I have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. There was a book written many, many years ago about the title of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And I've used that title a lot because it tells us what we have to do when we are experiencing some fear. All our body is telling us is that we are about to go into an uncomfortable situation, one that we don't know about. We've not been there, perhaps. And we have an option. We can go back. All right. We can do that. And going back becomes a magnet, and it will pull. All right. Then we become confused because we've got two energy sources that are encouraging us to change. We have a couple that's encouraging us to stay the same, and we get confused. All right. Hey, don't worry about it, because all your body is telling you is that you want to stay in a state of comfort, and the answer will come to you what you need to do as you continue to work through that confusion. And as a supervisor, it's my responsibility to help that old dog to see the advantages of learning these new behaviors. All right. So we just have to work with it. It's no big deal. We just have to work with it. Real-time feedback. All right. Unfortunately, my friends, accountability has gotten really a bad rap. I've asked thousands of people, does accountability have a positive or negative connotation? And most of the people say it's negative because they associate it with a disciplinary action. It's not negative. It's a teaching tool. All I'm doing, holding somebody accountable is helping them I'm guiding them to learn the behaviors that's helping them to be successful. That's all we're doing. Nothing more than that. The supervisor's responsibility is to help give feedback so that process can occur. All right? It's absolutely required for improved performance. Absolutely required. No doubt about it. I've forgotten I put this in there. There's a difference between recognition and appreciation when we give people feedback for doing something well. Recognition is thank you for doing that. Hey, that was a great job. All right. Appreciation tells the employee why. Man, that was a great job. That's exactly the customer service that we are working to have here at our dealership. That's great. Okay, that's appreciation. I tell people the formula, thank you for doing X, because that's going to help us to get to Y, whatever Y is. Thank you for learning those skills, because we need that in order for, all right, whatever that situation might be for you. All of us are going to have teaching moments, all right? All of us are going to make mistakes, and we want them to be learning opportunities. So when we see that we get a blip in performance with an employee, we get a blip, well, it's my responsibility to move forward. And I do that as a supervisor by showing them, helping them to understand what it is they need to do in order to improve performance. It's just that simple, okay? Now, here's the accountability system that I promised to mention to you. Many, many times, we've taken a situation and I've used this system, all right? It's going to take supervisors, for those of you who are with me, I know what you're going to think. It's going to take some work, yes, but you've got to remember, it's our responsibility to help that employee to move forward, particularly people who are resisting it, and perhaps some of us old fuddy-duddies. In the morning, when we greet them in the morning, hey, what kind of day we're going to have today? Good day or bad day? And they're going to say, I'm going to have a good day. What does a good day mean for us? Hey, I'm going to be friendly. Man, when I see a customer, I'm eye contact, I am going to smile, and I'm going to greet them. While I'm thinking about that, there is a concept called the 10-foot rule. It has been modified to be 10-5. And what that means is this. It actually started with here in Arkansas with Sam Walton in Walmart. They don't do this anymore, but as you know, whenever we're within 10 feet of an employee, a customer, we greet them. We have eye contact, we greet them. The 10-5 is we have eye contact at 10 feet and we have greeting at 5 feet. All right, I could tell you a bunch of stories about all that, but we don't have the time if we're going to answer some questions at the end. All right, so if I see the person doing a good job in the morning time, as a supervisor, it's my responsibility to recognize that and give them some appreciation, show them some appreciation for doing what it is that we're working on doing. But let's say I didn't have that opportunity to observe that. I can check base with the employee in just a matter of a minute or two. Hey, how are we doing today? We having a good day or a bad day? Okay, and they'll discuss it. Well, what are we going to do this afternoon? We're going to have a better afternoon, aren't we? You bet we are. Okay, because we know that when we see whatever it is we're asking that employee to do, that you're going to be able to do it, right? Yes, sir, I'll be able to do it. And again, if I see it, I'm going to give recognition. But at the end of the day, I'm going to, hey, you did a great job today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, because we're going to have a good day or a bad day tomorrow. Well, we're going to have another good day. It's that kind of structure for a while so we can get the habit in the brain. Habit formation, let me show you something else. I just happened to see this today. I read a book called The Power of a Habit, all right, by Charles Duhigg. It's an excellent book. I would encourage you to read that too. And but there is executive book summaries were sent to me by a client. Matter of fact, it was one of the dealerships sent me this, and it's from Executive Book Summaries, and you might be able to go online and get it, but instead of 240 pages, so there's 30. Okay. But strongly encourage you to do that. Now, as progress is made with an employee, you could drop some of this out. You might drop the noon meeting out, contact. And ultimately, you may then drop the end of the day meeting out, right? But I suspect the morning meeting is going to last a little longer until you really get that new behavior implanted. Hope I don't get too psychobabble with you for just a moment, but if I'm going to ask you to do something for me, would you just fold your arms? I'm one that puts my left arm on top. Now I'm going to ask you to refold your arms and put your other arm on top. And as many times as I've done this, this still seems a little uncomfortable for me, a little unnatural, because I preferred putting my left arm on top. Now, the reason I'm asking you to do this is to illustrate this point. Habit formation, we now know the neuroscience of habit formation is a neural highway. This is one highway. Okay, synapses in the brain. That's encouraging me, allowing me to do this. This requires a different set of synapses and a different highway. So I've got to do this enough to strengthen it to overcome this strength. This will never go away. I just have to make this one stronger. And you know how long it takes to build a highway. We used to tell people you do a habit for 21 days. That's a bold-faced lie. It's going to take longer than that before it really becomes something that you think about it. Because what has to happen is, as I see the thing I'm supposed to do, I've got to remember that I got to be self-aware and remind myself to put my right arm on top. That takes a little bit of work. But we have to have accountability. Just giving instructions and letting people go, it's not going to work. It's not. They're going to fall back to what they used to do 90% of the time. We got to help them to move forward, particularly people who are struggling with that. Okay. All of us should want to make ourselves too valuable to be lost. You exhibit enthusiasm and an optimistic attitude. Enthusiasm is called the priceless personality ingredient, and it is contagious, as is optimism. I wish I had time to talk to you about all that, but I don't. You need to be the person who's going to help other people to be successful. Be the leader in your dealership, helping people to be successful. If it's on the technical side, you be an eager student, continuously learn. Be an eager student, learn those new skill sets, learn those things. Guys, quite frankly, I'm not in the technical side of your business, but I know that stuff is changing constantly and rapidly. And it takes a lot of work to stay on top of it. But we have to exhibit the energy to do whatever needs to be done in order to get it done. You want to do that because you want to show your people, you want to show your dealership that you are valued, that you're important. All right, volunteer to accept new assignments. Okay, yeah, that's an opportunity to learn a set of skills. Okay, that would be good. Ask for feedback and to be held accountable. All right, that's the good side. We're going to end with what happens when enough is not really enough. When is enough enough? Okay, if the individual is going to continually be a pain in the butt, then you need to find a way to get rid of them. And that is true for any age employee. You got to get rid of them. It's like this. I could take a barrel of potatoes or apples, and I could put one rotting apple in that barrel, and the gases from that one apple is going to rotten all the others. Well, rotten, toxic people inside of an organization spreads poison, and you need to get rid of them. And I'm going to tell you that's regardless of how good they are technically. All right, they are poison. They are toxic. All right, so if they're a constant pain in the butt, if they decide, hey, I'm just not going to do this. Look, if I decided that I wasn't going to use Adobe Connect, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today because they would have to make a decision. DI would have to make a decision to get somebody else to do what I do for them. All right. I recently read a book, and this guy really got me to thinking. His name is Greg Abbott. And the name of his book is Resiliency of the Heart. And he asked the question of when is it that we should break away from the dealership, if I'm using it as an example, and I've looked at those questions and I think it can go both ways. When should we walk away? And let me also say, the number one reason people walk away is because of the relationship with their supervisor. 80% of employees who walk away leave a supervisor, not necessarily the organization or dealership in this world. All right, so ask some questions to help you to formulate that. One, are we happy with the relationship? Yes or no? Okay. Takes honesty, takes some thinking. Okay. Is the relationship healthy? Probably not if you answer no, because it's probably going to create some consternation. All right. Is the situation likely to improve? That's a critical one. I'll give you an example. I've got a friend of mine who works for an organization. She's been with that organization for 3 years. I've asked her to fill this in because here's the deal. She's unhappy with her supervisor. She has been unhappy for several years. And I asked her this question: do you think there's likelihood that it's going to improve? The supervisor has always promised to improve in the past. Hasn't improved. Okay, so what are your options? You either stay there and keep your mouth shut, or you find another job in the organization, or you leave it. Okay, you have to consider all of that. All right, hey, Miss Kim, do we have any questions that people would like to have answered? Yes or no?
We do. The first one, kind of going back to the beginning of your presentation, was just they were asking for the title and the author of the book you were recommending. You mentioned a couple, but the question came in at that first book.
Ooh, lordy. What was the first book? What can somebody remind me what the name of it was? Or is that what they're asking?
They're asking for the title and the author.
Oh.
I think it might have been a woman, but I had already forgotten it by the time the question came through.
Carol, yeah. The Mindset by Carol Dwegs by Mindset. That was the first slide when we're talking about the growth mindset. Carol Dwegs, DWECKS, Mindset. Excellent book. Highly recommend reading it.
All right. And then next up would be, so why would someone choose that good enough's good enough?
Good question. We're right back here. We're making this decision right here. It's good enough. It's good enough. Why would you and I make that decision if we're like the butterfly, we're going to continuously grow? God wants us to continually to grow. I think we are hardwired to continually to grow, but we can make a decision to say, no, I'm going to stay right here. Good enough is good enough. Now, why do they do that? Well, it's very possible they're lazy because it takes hard work to continue to grow. It's hard work. There are some people, I hate to say this, but the fact of it is there are some people who just simply don't give a damn. They just don't care. Okay? It is possible that people are so satisfied here with that. They're so satisfied that that's just where they want to stay. All right? That can happen. Okay? I'll give you a 30-second personal story. After 24 years of marriage, I was raised as a Catholic. Divorce was not a word that I could pronounce at that point in time. But I was married to, I wanted to move and to go forward in some areas. And she kept saying, why are you not happy with what you got? And we were just going in two different directions. Now, here's something that could be hard to understand, and I'll do my best to explain it in the time that we've got. There are some people who will sabotage their success. And the reason they'll sabotage it is they don't believe they need to be up here. Either they don't have the self-confidence to go forward, or they lack the necessary self-esteem. They don't believe they deserve it. So anytime there is anything that looks like progress, they will sabotage it to keep themselves down, right? And of those two I just mentioned, self-esteem is definitely the more sensitive part of those two, and also the most resistant to change. For you and me to change our self-esteem, it takes us probably 3 to 5 years of hard work in order to make substantial changes. So it's just something that has been pounded into us, and we believed it. I hope I did not psychobabble, and there's more to that, obviously, but that's for another time. Anything else, Miss Kim?
Yes. So why is, this whole presentation was about kind of changing behavior. Can people change their behavior? Why is that something, supervisors aren't taught how to do, aren't given the attention on how to approach it?
That's a good question, and one that has frustrated me many, many, many times. We ought to be teaching this in college. We should be teaching it. I've got 7 years of psychological training, and we didn't really get to the dynamics that I showed you. But we do know those dynamics, and those dynamics work. We all have to use them. And so if I don't know how to use them, I can't teach them. So that's one of the big reasons why it's not taught, because I don't know what they are, and therefore, if I don't know what they are, obviously, I can't use them. So here's what oftentimes happens: change is directed. This is what you got to do. Damn it, just do it. Okay, if you don't do it, that's not going to get you anywhere. All right, you automatically set up resistance. It's a selling process. Look, salespeople selling equipment to farmers, they're going to do exactly what we did up front. What is the need to change? Because this particular piece of equipment is not doing well. Not as well as what this piece of equipment will do for you. So I'm selling the new against the old with the advantages. If we just did that, I tell people all the time if we would just tell people the reason that we're changing, the whys, the 2 whys, what's driving it and what are the advantages of the change. But when we're working with an employee and helping them to change, we want those words to come out of their brain. And the only way to do that is by asking questions. Well, what are the disadvantages of you continuing to do this? Well, what advantages do you get out of it? What are the benefits you receive? And then the same question for the new. What do you think the advantages will be for you? So now you've got the basics. So you need to practice what I just shared with you. And I think, Kim, you put this, do you not put this PowerPoint up so that they can access it?
The video will be up again, but I can share a PDF of the slides with anyone who wants them. Just
if you at least
let me know.
Yeah, if you at least look at the video of those steps, and you've got the basics of what it is that needs to happen. Change needs to be sold. It does not need to be directed. All right. What is one of the objections people have of government? By God, they're not going to tell me what to do. All right. Same thing in organizations. All right. Anything else, Ms. Kim?
That is about it for now, since we are going over a little bit. I've gotten a few comments in from people asking for the slides. So that I don't lose what your name was, if you could send me an email at kschmidt@lessitermedia.com and make that request, I will share them with you. And I can get those to you in the next, this afternoon or in the next day or so.
And let me also say, there's my contact information. If you've got a question that you would like to throw at me, if you leave a voicemail, tell me that is part of this seminar, or you can email it to me. And probably the safer thing is to email it to me at that email address, and I will respond. I'll get back to you. All right. Hey, Kim, I want to thank you for helping us out today.
You bet. Thank you again for joining us, Larry, and thank you everyone for sitting in on today's webinar. Like we mentioned, the replay will be available on the Farm Equipment website, so keep an eye on your email in the Farm Equipment newsletter for when that's available. If there's any topics you want us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. And with that, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.